stuff happens in life. We could all fall down that hole, and I fall down that hole. And once you get out, it's like, I don't want to go back down there. It helps me deal with stuff a little bit better. I can take a break from that and kind of just be like, zero myself back out and then kind of refresh and then step back into it with an all new open mind.
Welcome to the Well with Cannabis podcast, a show dedicated to telling the life-changing stories of those who live well with cannabis, all while teaching you how to do the same. Meet your host, Emily Kyle, a registered dietitian nutritionist turned certified holistic cannabis practitioner. Emily changed her life for the better with the help of the cannabis plant, and now she is committed to helping others do the same. Tune in each week to hear heartwarming stories and gain the knowledge you need to feel connected, inspired, and supported on your own cannabis journey. Whether you're a new cannabis consumer or a lifetime lover, you'll benefit from these uplifting tales of real-life journeys that will show you how you too can live your best life well with cannabis.
Before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to share a note on potentially sensitive content. The episodes on the Well with Cannabis podcast are created for adult audiences only. We will at times cover sensitive topics including, but not limited to, suicide, abuse, mental illness, sex, drugs, alcohol, psychedelics, and the obvious use of plant medicine. Explicit language may be used occasionally. Please refrain from watching or listening to the show if you're likely to be offended or adversely impacted by any of these topics. The information on this show is for informational and educational purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice. If any of the content on this podcast has brought up anything for you, please reach out or speak to a professional or someone you trust. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Well with Cannabis podcast. And I'm excited to be here today with our special guest, Ms. Becky Davis. And we are going to be talking about cannabis. And what I'm most interested in is her certificate in agriculture and horticulture of cannabis. Welcome, Becky. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm super excited because you have a very interesting background. And if you're okay with it, I'd love to talk about your military background. Thank you so much for your service. But I want to focus on that a little bit because I'm finding that there are so many of our service members who are using cannabis and benefiting from cannabis. So if you want to talk a little bit about your background, I would really appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah. I joined the military right after high school. I'm from a small town, so I needed to get out of here before I got myself where I wouldn't be able to leave. You know what I mean? Life would happen. So I joined the military, and my intention was to do 4 years at a time. I first went in, I trained as a lab tech to be a lab tech for my job. I cross-trained out of that because I just got burnt out. It happens. But we had the opportunity to switch jobs. So I switched and worked on ejection seats for F-16s, A-10s, and F-15s. So really intimidating because it's a men, there's a lot of males. I was the only female in my shop. But, I just basically had a bunch of big brothers is what ended up happening. So after that, I retired in 2015, did 20 years, and I was ready to be done. And, you're told basically when to shit, shower, shave in the military, So it's like, hey, you get to do whatever you want now. So I'm like, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah. Did you plan for retirement or did it come up quickly or have you been waiting for it? What is it? What was the transition like?
I was 38. So I'm 46 now. So I just did my 20 years. I was ready to just focus on my kids, let them be number one. My husband was active duty and he also retired at 22 years. So I was just ready to let my kids be my priority. I just feel like they missed out on a lot of stuff. So, first thing I want to do is I want to smoke pot because I can't do it, the whole time you're in.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited. You get to have, your life back kind of, know. So I waited till my exact 20-year mark so that I was always scared they may come back and be like, we're going to need you to pee in a cup. And then everything is gone.
Right. Yeah.
So my sister, when I retired, I came back home to visit. I retired out of North Carolina. I live in Illinois now. And, we did that. And it was just weird because I was 18 before the last time I did it. And now I'm 38. And I'm a grown up,
I know. I mean, so much life has happened in between.
Right. And then I don't have anyone to consult because all the people I know are all military. So I was in North Carolina. I would call my friends here in Illinois and I would say, do I just go up to somebody in the bar? Am I just like, hey, how you doing? What do I do?
Yeah.
So I actually went back to school once I retired because really not a lot of use for ejection seats in the civilian world. So went back to do medical laboratory and just to catch up on all the new stuff. And in there, I found some younger folks and I was like, hey, so don't think badly of me, but, where can I find some? And then once we moved back to Illinois, my husband has his medical card. We're into doing syrup. We're doing canning. We're doing chickens. So we're just everything that we put on hold that, we didn't get a chance to really do. We're doing it. So I love that we can grow this ourselves. So the reason I took the class is because I don't know anybody that also grows their stuff themselves either.
Right.
So I said, not brainwashed, but so driven on research, just being medical career field and military, you research. I wanted something that I could fall back on if I had a question about something other than just somebody down the road that his cousin did it in the basement. I want to know like the real good, the real way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
what made you decide to actually go to school? Because that's a big deal. Like a lot of people will go down the internet rabbit hole, but what was it about the program that made you be like, I'm enrolling?
When I was looking it up, I took it out of University of Wisconsin in Platteville. It was an online course. Of course, the military wouldn't pay for it. Military wouldn't pay for it because it's cannabis driven. So,
would they have paid for something else if it was a different topic?
Oh, absolutely.
I didn't know
they paid for all my stuff. They paid for to go back to school, but they won't pay for the cannabis.
Oh my gosh. So, even though it's offered by a college, that's crazy. Wow. Okay.
Exactly. So then I don't qualify for the online stuff. When you're in the military, if you take an online class, the certain amount of hours you take, they'll give you money to kind of stipend that, like $600 a month or something.
Yeah.
So they didn't pay for any of that, which is fine. I mean, I talked it over with my husband. I was like, I feel like we should just do this ourselves. Why not? We can.
Absolutely.
So I just thought I'd go with that.
It sounds like you're living that homesteading lifestyle. You said you're doing the syrup and the canning. Talk a little bit more about how it fits into the overall lifestyle you're living.
Well, it's like, I would never have been able to do any of this without being in the military first. We're able to do that, I should say. When kids were like, we want this, we want that. And we would always say, well, let's just wait till we're retired and we'll do all that stuff. So they're really, coming back and being like, hey, you remember when you told us we would do that? And
really,
I just like doing that stuff. My family were farmers. I love the simple. I grew up gardening, or not me, but my family gardened, and I just like that. I like getting from the earth, and I don't know. It's natural. You know where it's coming from, right outside. I like that. Other than all the, as we get older, we realize all the stuff is put into things, and it's like, how much more crap do I need to put in my body?
Yes. I'm finding so many people who are already interested in gardening, homesteading, incorporating cannabis into it. And it's such a perfect fit. And so now I have to ask you, what did you learn about growing cannabis for anybody who already has a garden, but is interested? What did you learn from your training?
Well, I honestly, everybody's like, oh, it's so easy to do. Well, we have run into little situations. So I think outdoors, I'm talking, it tells you how to germinate your seeds and just looking for a healthy seed, so I can't maintain it per se because I don't have my medical card, but I can guide my husband and then look for certain things, or like if it's a female or a male plant, get rid of the male plant before it fertilizes everybody else. And I don't know, I just think it's cool that we can grow this stuff. In our first year of growing, we grew 2 plants and we got 6 5-gallon buckets of flour.
Oh my goodness, it's a lot.
Yes. But every single time is a learning process. Like we had bugs. And then we, found out what to do with that. And then, we're now inside since it's winter. So we're doing that. We're doing an auto right now. So it's kind of does its own thing, but
I feel like that's a whole nother learning curve in and of itself is indoor growing. Indoor and outdoors for me seems two different worlds.
It is. Cause we put ours in our compost pile, our 2 plants that we did outdoors. And I mean, they just got humongous. And then the ones inside just don't really get that big.
It's something about the soil. That compost pile, or we use turkey manure from the turkeys and the chickens. Something about getting the right soil and the plants will grow huge. It's so exciting.
Oh, they're awesome. Yeah, we throw stuff in there from the chickens, and then I did worm composting, and it's just fun. It's like a big science experiment. I love it.
It's a nice hobby too. It's a nice way to spend your time.
Yeah, we enjoy it.
Now, have you faced any kind of hesitancy coming out and discussing cannabis? Do you feel that stereotype or stigma from being in the military, or now that you're retired, are you like, I can do whatever I want? How is that looking for you?
It's a little bit of all of those things. So my grandparents are still around. They're 84, 85. So they come out, and my grandma, she's just tough, and I'm just, I don't want to make her mad or disappoint her in any way. So when she comes out and, it's like, well, we're just going to have to tell everybody, because it's not like you can just kind of hide that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, she's 80 something. So she's going to be like, whatever, Right. But I think for them, trying to educate them on it is that stigma that a lot of people have, like my uncle right now is going through chemotherapy and radiation, both things. And I'm just trying to find something that'll make him feel better. Yeah. He's like, I don't smoke that. And I get that. I'm trying to find some other ways. Like the tincture is my favorite of all time, and just something to help him relieve something. So there's that stigma, but then there's other people. You got people that are like, they'll take whatever that you'll give them. And then there's other people like moms that I've met that, we want to be like, we have the feeling, but not be completely Friday night special where you can't function if you can't. You need to get stuff done. We got to go. We got to do. I mean, it's just been a variety, and I love that. I love that everybody is from somewhere else, and that's something that we can talk about without the stigma,
It is so nice that we're just having this conversation. How, if you're okay talking about it, how do you incorporate cannabis in motherhood? Because I know we have a lot of moms listening, and some moms feel guilty. Some moms are not ready to use cannabis. How does that look in your life?
I feel like I understand the guilt, but at the same time, what's the difference between alcohol? I feel like this is a lot better than alcohol. I don't wake up with a hangover in the morning and I can't function. I was in the military, I drank all the time, but once kids came, they don't care that you were out till 2 or 3 in the morning. They're up at 5, 6 in the morning. And, I couldn't do that. It just didn't work for me. Obviously in the military, that's really what I had. But now that I've gotten out, I just really don't drink that much. I don't care to. So for the moms, I feel like it just helps you just kind of like, just give you that little bit of push to just get stuff done. And of course it depends on what strain. Yeah. I mean, if you do an indica, you're really probably not going to get much done, but that's okay. You can lay around all day. That stuff will still be there when you get up. I like that I can, with the tincture, like go strong or not strong, depending on what I have going on. And I think it just gives me a little pep in my step is kind of how I say it.
I love it. And what could be better for your kids than just a little mom who's a little bit peppier and happier, right?
Right. And I'm already peppy. So they're just like, oh my God.
Yes, perfect. And for a lot of moms who are listening, I mean, for so many people, cannabis can absolutely enhance your parenting experience, not take away from it. And that's what I'd really love people to take away from this message is, it's not that typical stoner image where,
right.
Maybe if you use an indica and you use too much, you're on the couch. But in most cases, if you know what strain you're using and you're using it responsibly, it can make everything just, like you said, a little pep in your step. Cleaning seems better and regular chores seem better. And the parenting tasks are a little easier. And I have a lot more patience as well, which is another positive.
Right. Definitely is positive.
Next, I want to talk about your relationship with your husband in cannabis, because you said he has his medical card and he uses cannabis as well. My husband doesn't use cannabis, but I still find that cannabis benefits our relationship as a whole. Do you
Right.
find that cannabis benefits your relationship as well?
Yeah, it's just the adjustment of getting out of the military. I know it's been 7 years, but it's still an adjustment just to be together all the time, like versus away from each other. Like we would be separated every now and then, which I look forward to, but we don't have that now. So it's just a big transition. So I think that has helped us a little bit in that, because it's just a whole new lifestyle. Our lifestyle is completely different. So
it's so nice to have something just to kind of be a buffer as you move through like big life transitions. For me, I felt like cannabis is always kind of like a friend there to help, as you make these big life changes.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So now you're growing it, all about growing it. And now you're making stuff. You said you are starting with tinctures. Talk a little bit about your tincture process and what it looks like in the kitchen for you.
Well, I used your recipes for the decarboxylating and also to make the tincture. I put a lot more than what is suggested on the recipe because we have it. So I'm like, why not? And I really like the freezer technique where you put the Everclear in there and let it sit in the freezer. I have a testing kit that I've used. Like I said, I'm a lab tech, so I love testing stuff out. I'm like, let's do an experiment. Everything is. We hatch eggs. I'm like, let's check it out. Let's do this. I'm looking at doing bees. I'm like, can we pollinate weed? I don't know. Because when I first started, I thought that that's how it worked, but it's not. It's not a pollinator that way. So that wouldn't even work anyway. But I had no clue. So in the kitchen, so I try to do it on days that my daughter's at school and my son's at work. They know I do it and they know we have it because obviously it's there, but I'm not going to be like right in their face with it either.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I bake it when they're not home. I just do the 40 minutes at like 235, I think is what I ended up using, and just kind of mix it around, put it into a mason jar and fill it with Everclear, and then just put it in the freezer. So I actually have a big jar right here if you want to see.
Yes.
So it's just a small jar.
Just a small jar. I know most of you are listening, but if anyone is watching, that is not a small jar.
But I just really like it. It fits my lifestyle. Yeah. I can drop that in my water.
Use it? For anyone who's not used an alcohol-based tincture, talk a little bit about how you use it, because a lot of people are scared of the alcohol part.
Right. And so that is 100% true. So when I first started, I watered it down probably more than 50-50 because it has that Everclear and it's burning if you put it right into your mouth, under your tongue. So no one likes that. So I started mixing it. It was probably 3-1 because it was so strong. And then just went from there, just kind of played with it. I have a tester that I got so I can hopefully know kind of a roundabout how much I'm putting in, because I don't like to just wing it when it's during the day and I got a function or whatever,
Yeah.
So it's just hard for me to shake not testing stuff. I just want to know what everything is, but I just use a dropper. I got these little brown droppers and I just put that in my water because I drink coffee and water. I don't drink any soda, really no alcohol. So it's real discreet. I also use the tincture to make candy. I like making hard candies. Mm-hmm. Those are good and discreet as well. I just like the discreetness of it because you just have people that are just like, you're in cannabis, ew. But I just love it. And going through the liver processing is completely different. And I don't know how to explain it unless you try it.
Yeah, it feels totally different. She's talking about the difference between smoking and eating an edible. Smoking, the head high comes on really fast. Edibles, digestion takes a little bit of time, comes on a little bit slower, a little bit more of a body high. It's different for everyone. It depends on the dose, but there is a noticeable difference for sure.
Yeah. And, I don't even know where I was going to go. I just like that I can use that I can make it strong or not strong.
Yeah.
And I recently just found, recently just found some gelatin capsules that I can put in. I can drop my tincture into. So even makes it even more where I just throw those in. It's like a gummy, but gummies to me just, I don't know. They're not my favorite.
It's so nice that you found something that you really like, though. And I'm so glad that you're sharing that with us, because a lot of times people assume gummies are the only option, assume brownies are the only option. But this is a wonderful option. It works for pretty much all dietary types. Doesn't matter. A lot of people think that, you know, if they're vegan or it's harder to incorporate, but what you're doing, and like you said, it's discreet. And for a lot of people, they're not ready to be out there screaming to the world that they use cannabis. You can absolutely stay discreet and enjoy that, and enjoy to yourself every time you put a dropper in your water that no one has to know what you're doing.
Right. I just really like it.
That's awesome. Now, how has cannabis improved your overall quality of life? What are the feelings that you enjoy the most?
Well, I guess it just depends on what I'm doing, because, you know, like if it's during the day when I want to get stuff done, like it helps me clean, or it just gives me that energy, or I'm trying to think of a word that pushes me through to get up, get doing something. I don't know. Kind of motivates me a little bit.
Yeah, motivation, but not. It's like a pusher. I feel like motivation is like you're reaching for it, but I don't know. There's something like a driver.
Right. Well, that's what I have with some of these questions that you have coming up with.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it helps me break through my anxiety a little bit, you know, I mean, it doesn't even have to be a lot. It's just that little bit of like, I don't know.
So much. It's so true. And for a lot of people, it's like social anxiety. So if you want, you know, not ready to go out and be in crowds or socialize with people, for a lot of people, just a little bit of cannabis can really help that social anxiety and make it a lot more enjoyable.
It absolutely can. I think I do. Okay. Sorry.
You're fine.
My husband is calling and I'm like, stop.
Oh, you can answer if you want.
I've been telling him this is what I'm doing today. I know.
I've sent my husband my schedule for the last 3 days, and he's like, what's your schedule look like today? I texted to you. I taped it to the wall.
Nothing. My husband's in Memphis. So I'm like, I got 2 weeks to be like
on your own, doing your own thing. That's awesome.
I love you so much, honey.
You're the best. Couldn't do it without you. I want to be respectful of your time, so let's jump into those questions.
Okay.
And the first one is, what are you most proud of to date?
I'm most proud of my military service. That's basically it. I mean, without any of that background, I don't think I wouldn't even be who I would be right now. I'd have to go through all those struggles to be where I am. Helped you grow.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. I have a special place in my heart for military family. So thank you, both you and your husband.
Thank you.
Next question. What does your life look like if you never found cannabis or hadn't retired and been able to access cannabis?
Well, like I said before, I would probably be like a hermit, because it helps me get through my anxiety. You're leaving one thing that you've known for 20 years. I'm coming over here to do this. And now how is it going to be? I don't know. I'm scared. I mean, shoot, just going to CrossFit when I first started that, I was like, okay, I can do this. But I would do a little on the way, because I just wanted that out of the way. You know, that I don't even know how to explain it, but that thing that you're like walking in, you're like, I want to do this, but I don't want to do this.
Yep. And then afterwards, you're like, I'm so glad I did it. So I'm glad I made myself do it. 100%. Yes. I relate to that so much. And for me, cannabis is the same way. Like, take a little bit, 1, 2, 3, go. I can do this. And especially for exercise too. We don't talk about
Oh my God, today, the gym. And I was like, I'm going to do my podcast. I'll do gym on Friday. So I got a plan, hopefully. I fell off the wagon a little bit, so I got to get back on it.
I promised myself if I could do 2 days a week, that's all I'm going to ask for myself.
Right.
2 days a week, building that consistency. But if I motivate myself with a little bit of cannabis to start, Tony, it's a lot easier.
Absolutely.
It's a lot more fun.
Absolutely. And I've found yoga and I love that so much. Oh my God, I love it so much. So and nice, with cannabis as well. You can just,
I know, to have both together, it's so perfect.
It's perfect. So perfect. But it helps me do that. what else? It's allowed me to actually sit and relax because military life is like,
Yeah.
right. So, it's nice to kind of sit and relax and enjoy life, the slower life, that we have here in this little town. Without cannabis, like I feel like I have IBS pretty good. Smoking helps settle my stomach. So I love that. I love that food can possibly stay into my guts just a little bit longer.
That's
than
something
5
huge
seconds.
to talk about because there are a lot of people who suffer from IBS and think they have no relief. So to hear that it brings you at least a little bit of relief to settle your stomach is amazing.
Yeah, because the pills they prescribed were like, it would just still make me crampy. And it would just prolong. And I'm like, I just would rather not with that. So, but I found that smoking helps. I've not really paid attention to the stomach part as a tincture part with it. The smoking seems to do better, which is funny because everything seems to do something different, I guess.
It is true, though. It really does all do something different, which, for a lot of people, if you can begin to track it, it can actually help you find that progress that you're looking for too.
And that stuff, like if people try what we've had, I want to know notes. I'm like, how do you feel? How long did it take to kick in? Because I want to be able to share that and help somebody, if I feel like if I have more information, they may be more willing to try it.
Yes, absolutely. And it's got to drive you crazy. Someone coming from the medical background, knowing everything, and cannabis is such a nuanced free for all in so many ways. Like you can't really ever give someone an XYZ answer.
Right. It does. And then I'll be like, so how did it make you feel? I felt good. I'm like, but how long did it take? And then I'm like, okay, I obviously am not going to get any information from you.
Exactly.
Other than that, they like it.
And which, in a lot of cases is success on its own. So that's always good too.
Right.
Now, I don't know if the next question is applicable to you because it's not like it was an option, but the question is 10, 20, or 30 years ago, if you could whisper a little piece of advice to yourself about cannabis, what would it be?
I think, it would be a little bit, that's what I said too about being in the military. So it's kind of like a whole different world. But I think that if I maybe would have gotten to the agriculture and horticulture a little bit sooner, just instead of trying to wing it, just went ahead right into it. I just went with nothing. No, I didn't know anything about anything. I didn't know where to start. And it just really helped. Just like I said, pick out seeds or how the seeds look or how to germinate. And then, male or female. And then just all of the different things. I just really learned a lot with the class. So I would have probably told myself to get into that a little bit sooner.
I will put a link for that too, in case anybody is listening and they're like, tell me more. I want to take that.
Yes.
So they can learn more about that too.
And it was funny too, because when I signed up, there was a gentleman that called me and he was so excited because this company, they're like, it was a newer thing to go for the University of Wisconsin. So I thought that was cool that they gave me a call,
so
and just say, I'm
pretty
all about
personal.
that small stuff. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, you called me. I'll do it.
Yes, I'm in. How long did the program take you?
It was a 16-week program.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Because it goes over the history and all the stuff from back in the day. And I'm like, I said, I don't think this is what I thought it was going to be. And they're like, just wait. We promise it'll get better. It's just the first part. You just got to get through it. And I'm glad I did because that's when I learned a lot about, they tell you how to get a hold of your water department to check your pH in your water. It's just all around everything. I don't know. I just really liked it.
It's great advice. Especially for a lot of people who are interested in growing, like you said, they can probably save themselves a lot of time and effort if they go with a little bit of education ahead of time too. So I'll definitely share that so people can, if you're listening and want to learn more about it. Our very last question in the cannabis space, if you could be remembered for just one thing, what would it be?
I put my positive attitude, just because stuff happens in life, and we could all fall down that hole. And I fall down that hole. And once you get out, it's like, I don't want to go back down there. I want to stay out of there for a little bit. And so I feel like it helps me deal with stuff a little bit better, like a little bit of a crutch, I can take a break from that and kind of just be like, zero myself back out and then kind of refresh and then step back into it with an all new open mind, positive, relaxed, and ready to go. I mean, what else are you going to do? You're just going to give up, and I can't do that. Can't do it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your positive attitude here with us today. Before we wrap up, if you have one piece of advice for our military members, past service members who are listening, who are unsure of whether or not they should try cannabis and give it a try, do you have any advice for them?
I do. I think you should start small. If you don't want to do it, by yourself, have somebody around you like that you can just know that, everybody's panics because it's something new, What if something happens? What if I freak out? Well, just have somebody there with you. Just be smart. Don't get messed up and then try to go do some like family function that you haven't seen your family in like 20 years or something. That's really not the best. Do it in a nice, relaxed state, when you don't have anything going on, and just enjoy it. And a little at a time. That's the big one, especially with edibles, because people will then extra them, and you don't feel so good if you extra on your gummies.
Great advice to leave off with. Thank you so much for joining us today, for sharing your positive attitude and your experience with cannabis. It's been a pleasure. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love it. I love it. Love it. Could talk forever.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You've finished another episode of the Well with Cannabis podcast and are one step closer to discovering how you too can live well with cannabis. Thank you for listening in today. We hope this episode has been a helpful and informative one. Please visit EmilyKyleNutrition.com for more information on today's show notes, guest information, recipes, and other resources. If you want more support and encouragement on your cannabis journey, please consider joining the private Well with Cannabis community. In this group, you can connect with like-minded individuals focused on improving their health and wellness through cannabis. Join the group today to continue your journey of wellness together at EmilyKyleNutrition.com.